So after we talked about some of the introduction to the single leg deadlift and some of the form deviations, the main thing being the peel out and some of the side-to-side deviation and the hip hinge. One of the main things that can trip this up, especially after lower back radicular issue, is neural tension. So after we go through our initial slump and straight leg raise tensing, if there's still a residual neural tension issue through the sciatic column going down, that can really throw off the form, and that can sometimes be the driver. So if you're really working on your single leg deadlift form and just can't seem to get it right, then sometimes we have to recheck some of these clinical signs to make sure there's not something underlying. It might not be acute painful, but that's kind of your body trying to protect this area, it's trying to protect the nerve, and it's kind of skirting around it. So when we go into our slump tests, we'd be seated with the leg all the way out with the head down, putting all the tension across. That's very similar to getting into the bottom of our single leg deadlift and coming back out of it. We've got some good dorsal flexion at the ankle. We have a lot of knee extension. We have a lot of hip flexion. And as we come forward, to make sure we're not peeling out, we're actually putting in the hip adduction internal rotation, which is going to put some additional tension across the area. So this can sometimes drive, even if you're trying to protect it. If you're going into your single leg deadlifts and you're getting excessive extension in the head or the lower back as we go forwards into it, sometimes that can be a little bit of a compensation to try to put a little bit of slack onto the neural column. So as we're stretching the sciatic nerve from below, from the hip down, we would almost go into like a hyperextension or a head extension to try and decrease some of that, especially if that correlates clinically with some of the neural tension testing that that a clinician or your clinician would do on the table during like an orthopedic neurological assessment. So the main ways that we would modify and get around this would be, the easiest one would be the depth going forward, and especially the degree of knee flexion. So if you want to really challenge our hamstring tension, we want to have less knee flexion as you go back and forth. But if we still have a little bit of a hot neural tensioner and it kind of throws off the form, or we get some symptoms afterwards, we'd actually want to really increase the bend into the knee as we keep the spine pillar and we go back and forth into the hip as needed. So as long as the knee ankle doesn't change, we'll still have mostly posterior chain load. If we were starting to get more of a pogo effect of going to the knee and getting back out, we're going to get a little more quad into it. So as long as that stays stable, that's kind of a little modification sheet we can throw in if that's a persistent issue. So correlating some of the neural tension signs, especially after lumbar radiculopathy to single leg deadlift, can be key for early introduction to it. I mean, eventually it turns into a full load weight bearing nerve loss if you want to make it that way. So it's depending on the stage of rehab, it can be either a very helpful therapeutic